All right, everyone, welcome back to another part of this series. So in the last video, I talked about these data points, and like to add a new data point, you end up having to kind of touch a lot of code, which is kind of a code smell to me. There should be a more there should be an easier way to do it, I guess what I'm trying to say. Let's just kind of take a look through like how we can add a new symptom here. And right here, like when the React component first mounts, like we have some state variables here, and these are all symptoms, so they kind of correspond to the checkboxes. At the very least, maybe we can kind of abstract these out into a shared object. So I'm gonna go up here and just say like const symptoms. And let's just put those here. And I'm gonna go ahead and just ... spread that onto the state. So what this allows us to do is, did I spell symptoms right? This word looks just so strange. Symptoms. Let me get rid of that. Okay, this shouldn't be called symptoms. This should be like, what is this? This is like data points and symptoms. I don't even know what to call this. I'll just call it data points to make it consistent with the UI. One thing that's really good to do, in my opinion, is make your code match your business. So if your business logic has terminology like symptoms or data points, then you want to make the code try to match that as close as possible. I know sometimes it's not really possible. Like you might have a label in the UI that's completely different because users might not understand it. But the better you keep that your code kind of in line with your UI, it's much easier to look at your UI and understand what's going on in your code. But anyway, yeah, let's just go ahead and rename that to data points for right now. And what we want to do is we want to dynamically render all of these data points down at the bottom. So if I go down to search for data points, we have a section down here, and that has a bunch of different inputs and labels. So using our, our ability to kind of loop through objects and dynamically create stuff in React, we can do something like this and basically get all the keys from that object. And we could basically render out a label / input box for every one. So the main difference is we have this key now, and we can kind of use that key for the name. We could use it for here. We could use it for here. Now the thing that's going to break is we don't actually have the text. So we have to kind of refactor. Let me just go ahead and make sure this all aligns real quick. Is that good? So I'm going to delete the other two symptoms, or the other two data points. I keep calling them symptoms. And we are going to just make sure that this will at least render out 3 checkboxes, and it's going to have the same text for all of them. All right, so this works. But again, we want to make this probably come from the objects. So one thing we could do is, I think there's an object.entries instead, and you'll get back, I think, is it an array? So we have the key. Now the only thing is we have to go up to where we added that thing, and we need to basically, instead of making these true and false, we're going to have to do something like this, where we have the text here, and then we also have a default value. Again, this might take a little bit of more refactoring to get this working, because I'm using this like object somewhere else too. But let's just do this. Like I mentioned before, like when you're coding, you're not going to do the most optimal thing first. You're going to just do whatever works. Just make it work, and then make it good, and then make it fast. Is that the saying? Make it work, make it good, make it fast. I don't know. There's some saying that people use, which basically means like as long as it's working and you have tests covering it at some point, it's very easy to come back and refactor it to make it nice. Did you eat All right, let's like Copilot. Did you exercise today? I mean, all these things default should be false. I don't even need to put a default value here actually, because they're all going to be false. And then technically, like, I guess we don't need to put an object here. You want to keep it simple. One thing that you got to keep in mind is it's very easy to over-engineer your code. Okay, right now, this is a key value that points to objects. But right now, we don't know if we need another property, right? So there's no need to store an extra object. It's kind of like what we're doing right now was over-engineering. So let's just keep it simple. This just stores the data with the text. And if we determine down the road that we definitely need to store more than just text, then we'll come back and just add it back to be objects. All right, so you get to watch some live coding today, some live refactoring. Hopefully you're learning something from it. So now I need to change this to entry text because the value is a string, and then we could just use that here. All right, sounds good. And then this little preview thing on the right is really nice to use. If you see here, it's like super small, but you see here, there's like a green little line. I might need to zoom in for you also. But if you click right there near it, you know, you can kind of navigate your code base. It's really useful if you have a really big file. This file is getting pretty big, like 200 lines. You might say, oh man, that's not that big, 200 lines. In my opinion, 200 lines is like reaching your maximum file. So at some point we may need to refactor this stuff away. Like anything related to the calendar might need to be pulled into its own module, but one thing at a time. So we have these data points, and we can't just spread it here because like that's not going to do what we need to do. We actually need to get the keys like this. Probably want to map those keys, and then we want to return an object that has the key and does false. Yep. So why are we doing this? Because the state basically needs to have a bunch of true and false values for every key. And I do have a syntax error. All right, so basically when the component mounts, we create some state. Just going to loop through is dairy set at the false, is salt set at the false, did exercise inside of our state, so that we can use it later on. So let's go back to the UI. Let's see if this actually works. So I'm clicking on these checkboxes, and they're all clicking the first one. So I think there is a bug. So let's go ahead and quick navigate down to where we added that. So object.entries, data points, map key, and interesting. So the weird thing is that the string is changing, right? So we are getting the correct like string value, but the key is not, or something. So I like to debug by just printing stuff out, like just to make sure that everything's working. So we are printing out the key correctly, but for some reason when we click on the bottom checkbox, it's clicking the first one, which is pretty wild. So let's figure out why that's happening. Checked form of key, name key. Oh, right here. Here it is. I have hard-coded is dairy. So whenever you copy and paste code, like keep in mind that you're probably going to have a bug because you forgot to change something. So just be extra cautious, I guess. Be on the lookout whenever you copy and paste code. Like just triple check what you refactored. This actually needs to be key. And yeah, that should hopefully fix it. So now I can actually click these. And the benefit of this approach, like I'm going to show you the the cool thing, is as I think about new things, I'll say did eat eggs because my wife is allergic to eggs. Did you eat eggs today? Did eat bread. She thinks that there might be an issue with bread, which causes issues. But anyway, when I save this, you'll notice that if we go back to the UI, we have those extra like data points that just kind of show off, right? They're there. So it's really awesome in terms of, I plan to have a lot of different data points. Some of these data points might be unrelated to the symptoms, but the long-term goal is to have enough data that I can run through some type of AI to prune out the data points that don't matter, because there's got to be something There's got to be something that's causing some of these symptoms. Or maybe it's just random. Who knows? Maybe it's based on the weather. Did you sleep? All right. Did get sleep. How about that? Did you sleep well last night? Make sure I don't capitalize that. I want to keep it consistent. I don't like how these two are is, and this is did. I may come back and change these all to is. Kind of convention to use is for booleans. But it just sounds weird. Is exercised, is eat eggs, is bread. But I'm just going to keep it consistent just because, but sometimes naming things is hard. Because this doesn't even sound like proper English, but then like using is and did together is more of a cognitive load. So I would just keep them all is. Yeah. Y'all having fun? Y'all having fun watching me add some checkboxes to a page? All right, so the issue now is that we have all these data points, but the backend doesn't really know how to use these. So like if I were to go to, I don't know, this one, I believe there's some hard-coded logic somewhere. Not that one. Actually, let's go to the Mongoose model, right? So remember, we're using Mongoose, and we have this entry defined. And now on this entry, as you can see, we have, these hard-coded data points. But we need to make this more dynamic and shared, okay? So a good rule of thumb is your UI should not declare your business logic, right? This sounds kind of like business logic. The business, I'm going to call this a business just because that's what I'm used to. This is like the business UI, and the UI has some business logic in it. But this stuff should kind of be owned by the backend. And luckily, since we can do code sharing because we're doing JavaScript across the entire stack, I would extract this. And I would just put this in somewhere like closer to the API or the backend. Now, I don't think I can put it in this file necessarily because this is actually importing Mongoose. So if the UI tries to load Mongoose, it might not work the way we thought it would. So what I'm going to do is I'll just put a shared. I don't know. Ooh, shared looks like it's actually a special name. Maybe that's like a special next thing. Where do I want to put this? I don't want it to exist in the UI. I want it to exist in like a different shared folder. Maybe I'll just make a folder called business. I don't know. And I'll make something called datapoints.js. Again, keep in mind, like just do the first thing that works and then come back and refactor it once you think of a better solution. Don't waste 30 minutes thinking about a better way to do stuff. So export const data points, and that's going to be a object that's going to have all of those data points. Now, the benefit of this, again, is that the UI hopefully should be able to import these. So I should be able to say like import data points from dot slash business data points. Okay, so if this works as expected, the UI should still work fine. Let me have my terminal open because it's always good to have your terminal at the bottom. So we also want to import this from our Mongoose model. And by the way, I'm always open to suggestions. If you have a better approach to what I'm doing, like let me know in the comments below or join my Discord. I want to let you all know I have a Discord that you can kind of join to talk to me directly if you want. I am pretty responsive, so I do like to talk to my I like talking to my subscribers. Let me go up a level, get data points. So what I want to do here is I want to make these dynamic. So what we can do is ... We can do object.keys. No, we do object.keys. And we're going to do do we need to do a map or reduce? Maybe we do need to do a reduce. I'll trust Copilot. I think we just need to basically make up a new thing. where we are appending booleans for all of these. And Copilot is like the best. It's making me a worse programmer, but it's definitely making me more productive. Like I don't have to worry about writing this stuff. Because I probably would have spent an extra minute or two just thinking about how to do reduce because I don't use it often, but this makes sense. So now it takes the data points and it dynamically generates the Mongoose schema, which means that we can store this stuff in the back end without having to like worry about going everywhere and changing everything. So I think we're almost there. Like we also need to worry about our backend API endpoints. I think we have some endpoints that are hard-coded to default this stuff. So again, we need to basically import these. I'll do it at the top here. I'll say import data points from business data points. I don't like the name of data points, but at this point, I don't know what else to name it. So we need to basically object assign rec.body. So this code right here, I think there might be a better approach that we can do it. A better approach that we can do. Using Lodash, I don't think I have Lodash installed, so I might need to yarn add it. Let me just do that real quick, because Lodash is a really useful thing to use, yarn add Lodash. So the idea is we want to get the keys. So I'll just go ahead and say const data point keys, and just do an object.keys on that. And we should be able to basically take the rec.body. So I'll do like dot, dot, dot. And then I'm going to do a Lodash pick. Right? Lodash pick basically takes an object and picks specific keys out of that object. Okay, so we want to kind of whitelist what is able to be passed to our backend. So I'm going to pick out those data point keys. I don't want users to be able to pass whatever they want to my Mongo instance. So I'm going to pick out those keys. And then I'm going to do the same thing for these. I mean, technically I could have just do like rec.body here, because I think Mongoose won't actually store that extra stuff. But it's always good to whitelist your data and validate your data on the back end. You don't want users sending over like anything over to your back end, and then you don't want to accidentally save that to your models. So that should work for that. And then for this approach here, we need to basically do probably a similar approach with that reduce. So I think it was like object dot keys. Yeah, I'll just do the same logic. I wish there was a better way to do this. There probably is, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Copilot. All right, let's save this, see what happens. Oh, dot, dot, dot. Let's see. What's it complaining about? What's it complaining about? Yeah, my computer is so slow. I need to buy a new computer, but I just can't really drop cash for a new MacBook. But look how slow it's taking just to add yarn. Just to add, what is it trying to add? Lodash. Like, good gracious. All right, anyway, why is this complaining? So symptoms, expected 8, comma. Object.keys. We're doing this, we're doing this. This might just be my linter, like not actually loading yet. Yeah, it just took some time. Probably because Lodash is eating up all my CPU. I really hope this recording doesn't have like audio skipping. Sometimes when I record and my CPU is like really slow, my mic will just drop off. And then like for a good 10-20 seconds, there's no audio. But honestly, by this point in the video, not many people are probably watching still, so who cares? All right, so let's just make sure this all works. We're going to click on some of these things. In fact, let's just click all of them. Why not? Let's just click them all and make sure all this stuff works. Click save, and the backend crashes because I'm trying to load business data points from entry. I think I just need another double slash. If you look at the paths here, this has 1, 2 from the top level, and this is only 1. Getting good at reading these like dot dot stuff with like file paths is really useful. But I do think in Next there's a way I can just do this. Maybe this will be more useful. I haven't really tried it. Let's see what happens. It might just crash. I'm going to try saving that. Click save. Not resolve. Yeah, I don't know. I remember seeing this somewhere, but I don't know if maybe they had like a special setup going on. But let's see. Let's save that file. Let's try this one more time. Click save. Keeps crashing. So this is failing in which file? This is failing in entries date string. Okay, so I do think I fixed this one. If that one was an issue to begin with, this one also needs to be ... All right, there we go. Go ahead and save that. Dang, come on now. Oh, this is a third ... What also helps is like look at the other stuff that you're importing. Like API lib is in the same directory as business. So yeah, it makes sense to have 3 slashes. Save it again. Let's just try it. Let's see. Internal server error. Yeah, so this is making progress. Cannot convert undefined or null to object. So we're trying to hit an endpoint here. Which endpoint are we hitting? Entries and then date. So let's look at this one. And let's just go ahead and look at what are we sending in? Data point keys. Cannot convert undefined or null to an object. Export const data points is equal to an object. Data points. Import data points. It would be nice if it told me what line number this is failing on. Because this isn't just a UI bug, this is the backend actually crashing. So we have to figure out why is the backend crashing here. So let's just make sure, if I were to print this out, I do believe I'm doing a put request here. So if I print this out, save the page, I'm gonna go ahead and delete some of this stuff too. Save the page, click save. The backend again crashes. Where is it crashing at? Maybe it's crashing at this data points import. Business data points. This is going to be a really simple bug, probably. I'm doing a what request is this? This is a put request to that endpoint. I am in the handle put here. Cannot convert undefined or null to an object. Export const data points. Oh. Man, this error sucks. So the issue is I didn't import pick, but Next is not giving me a nice, it's not explaining like what the error is. So that kind of, that's horrible. Like Node or whatever would have actually thrown an exception and told me the line number, but Next is just like eating that error up and not telling me. I think that's the issue, or at least one of the issues. Okay, well, I thought I was onto something, but it's the same issue. Maybe. I'm gonna do a hard reset, and I also want to print out what data point keys is, because I think this is gonna be cached. So let's go ahead and just hard reset this whole Next server. Redo yarn dev. That should load up the UI, and then we're gonna go over here and refresh. Maybe it's because I did a yarn add-on Lodash and I didn't restart my server. Maybe Next isn't smart enough to like know when I added a new third-party library. All right, so it did crash. It gave a different thing. It gave a warning about keys. The backend, did it crash? What's going on here? There's so many requests going on. Entries. Cannot convert to undefined. What's going on here, guys? Like, thought this would be a simple add. Maybe I just messed something up. Pick from rec body. Give me the data point keys. This should be an array. And then add the things I picked out to this object assign. And we did the exact same thing here when we make a new entry. Handle get is also crashing. Maybe it's over here. So we basically take the keys of the data points, which data point keys. We already have the keys, so we don't need to do that. I think that's what I call it, data point keys. Yep. And then we can reduce that array to get back a new object where we have false for all those data points. And then we're going to spread that onto the existing object. Well, yeah, that's kind of confused here. You think that even if I add console logs like to this method, something would at least print out? But I don't know what's going on. It's just not working. So go ahead and just put some stuff here. Click save. Cannot convert undefined or null to an object. So I mean, the fact that this is not even printing out here really makes me think that it's crashing in one of these endpoints. And I don't think it would be crashing. Maybe it's the Mongoose model. Maybe we screwed that up. Data point. This has to have an S, I believe. Data points. Every time I run into small bugs like that, it just makes me want to use TypeScript. But then when I start using TypeScript on my side projects, I hate it. And I always go back to JavaScript. So I'm like, I'm in a pickle right now. I'm in a dilemma. But it's like, I like the type safety that TypeScript provides you, but I don't like the verbosity that TypeScript gives you. And I'd much rather just fight these stupid little bugs than to deal with all the extra stuff I have to add to all of my functions and data types. So it's a trade-off, and I'm using JavaScript because that's kind of my preference. So let's just make sure this works. I'm going to go ahead and click save, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page. And let's see if this works. So page loads, going super slow, fetches all the data. Click save again. I'm going to navigate to 14, go back to 13, and that's it. So what we kind of achieved in this whole part of this series, in this video that I just recorded for you all, is the ability to dynamically add data points without having to go and touch all of these files every single time. Because I do believe I'm going to end up maybe adding 10, 20 more, and I don't want to have to go and touch all these files every single time. So what we achieved is we have a single point, a shared point where all the business definitions for our data points is in one file. So I could just come in here and add new stuff. Let's just say is hydrated. Okay. Did you drink enough water today? Okay. Now watch this. As I save this file, one file, you will see that come up here, and I can actually save this. Don't do this to me. Why did it just uncheck? Dang. Oh, there must be a bug still. He's hydrated. This might be one of those instances where I have to restart the UI because Next doesn't really know, React doesn't know. Let's just try this real quick. Dang, what's going on here? Maybe it actually is broken. Payload that I'm sending to the backend. Am I sending hydrated? Is hydrated true? I am. So I think maybe the issue is actually with I need to restart my server. Because maybe when I change these data points, my Mongoose model was cached with old values. So I might have to look into that. Let's just go ahead and click save here. go back to another date, come back. Now it's not even like loading. Okay, my app is just super slow. I think that's what's going on right now. Maybe? No? Everything is false for this. Let's just click some of these. Click save. Go back. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I mean, it's working now, but I think it's just because my CPU is getting like overloaded because I'm doing screen recordings and all this other stuff. But yeah, this looks good now. Okay, so just need to make sure I restart my backend. There's a warning about I need to add a key to one of my React models, but overall, I mean, I think this is good. I'm just going to go ahead and add this. Go ahead and say git add. I'm going to commit and say refactor to allow the data points to come from a shared place in code. And that's it. Go ahead and push that. Got one commit, added one little feature. Well, it wasn't even a feature, added refactoring. And I hope you guys learned something from that. It's always good to refactor your code. Take it slow. Overanalyze your code. Make sure that you're doing the right thing. Make sure it's the cleanest way that you can potentially do this. But then also don't get caught up too much in like, what's the best folder I should put this in? How should I name this? Is this the right name? Just get it working and come back later and change it. Anyway, have a good day. Happy coding.